Test. I think this is working. Am I live yet? Okay, I think so. All right, welcome in. Last week 18 of football. Playoffs around the corner. You want to talk about playoffs? We're going to talk about playoffs. Big couple games. Oh, there's some playoff spots already locked in. Couple big games though. Couple big games. And we'll get started shortly. Getting started. Setting up. Drop questions and comments in chat. Okay, let me set all this up right now before we get started. Okay. But while we wait, just some random thoughts to run by. Ugly game for Carolina versus Bucks. That was ugly. That was ugly. All right. All right, let's see. What are we? Okay, we're good there. We are good there. Let me see. Where is this? All right, we got the defenses and everything set up. So let me just flip through to make sure we got everything working. All right, best cards up. Defenses for rushing are up. Passing 18. Okay, all of that is good. All right, and then test these one. All right, everything's good. Everything is working. Week 18. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all are doing well. We got a couple exciting games today, so let's jump into what's happened so far and where we're at. Big game today for Saints versus Falcons. If you check out the chat, there is a poll, and take a look at that poll because depending on who wins this game between the Saints and the Falcons will determine who goes to playoffs between the Panthers and Bucks. So who do you want to go to the playoffs between the Panthers and the Bucks? And do you care? But because they will probably get bounced in the first round of playoffs, but at least that is something where the divisional game will matter and will influence who goes. So that was the first game. The second one was kind of a snoozer as well, offensively, but pretty good show out from the Seahawks defense, if I'm being honest. So that was a little unexpected. 16 points total scored in the game, 30 points scored in the Bucks Panthers game. So kind of ugly football. Don't expect the Panthers or the Bucks to make it out of the wild card round, but you never know. You never know if they're gonna make it out or not, right? But one of them will. So let me know who you think between the Falcons and the Saints is gonna win, and if you know who's gonna go to the playoffs, or would you prefer to be in the playoffs between the Panthers and the Bucks? So Seahawks locked everything up yesterday, even in that ugly win. uh, there's a funny concept, right, of last year, Sam Darnold being on the Vikings, losing the last week to miss the bye, and then getting bounced in the first round. And then here, awesome defense again, good system, good players, and has the bye this time. So can he win coming out of that bye? I think that's going to be a big question mark on who Sam Darnold is. So drop a like, guys, if you can. Much appreciated. Vote on that game. Those were the games yesterday. So Seahawks locking up the bye. Bucks still with the chance, but they need the Saints to win in order to make it. Colts versus Texans. Here we go. Texans, wanting to win here. But not crazy things on the line. Things can happen, but Titans probably not gonna beat the Jags, or just kind of depends on if the Chargers can do anything. Probably not. But Colts versus Texans is not a must win, but would like to win, right? Would like to win. Um, Packers versus Vikings. Packers want to win, but not much there, right? It's not much there. Jaguars will probably beat the Titans. Crazy things could happen if certain teams lose for them to move up, but probably not going to happen, right? And then Cowboys versus Giants, nothing to play for but pride there. So hopefully that will be a good game. So that's the morning slate of games. So afternoon slate, Commanders and Eagles will be playing, but Eagles, nothing can change for them, so not much there. Patriots, need the Chargers to win, but that's probably not going to happen, right? Um, but they're playing the Dolphins, so they'll probably play to win, but not, to injure. Bears playing Lions. Bears kind of need to win to, I think, maintain seeding, I believe. Um, so there is something to play for the Bears there. Bills, not much there. And then Ravens and Steelers tonight is going to determine who goes between them, I believe, right? So just a couple key games throughout the day. I would say, Rams beating the Cardinals. Not much. Oh, actually, something can happen there, right? They can win and move up in seeding, I believe now. Um, that might be true. Someone could fact check me on that, but and then Chiefs versus Raiders, the Super Bowl of the day. Both team wanting to lose to, secure draft capital, draft spots. Rip, good day. How are you? Good morning and happy New Year to you, Cole. How was the holidays? That game was probably crazy. I think you went to the Packers game, right? Versus Broncos, but your dad went undefeated in fantasy this year. What? That's actually really crazy. That's really crazy. Who did he draft to do that? That sounds like a team of like Bijan Robinson plus Achan or something like that, or Derrick Henry or James Cook, and then like Puka and JSN, or maybe Chris Olave, Trey McBride. That's crazy to go undefeated. Who was on that team? I'm very curious to know who was on that team. But Happy New Year, many celebrations to your dad for going undefeated. That's pretty crazy, actually. That's actually really crazy because, I mean, come on, like everybody has one bad week, right? But awesome. He won the championship. I wonder if he's holding that over your head or not. Um, if he's holding that over your head. But let me know who was on his team. I'm very curious to know who was on his team. Um, but yeah, so those are all the games for today. If we take a look at the projected projections, right, is I mean Broncos have a pretty good chance to make the bye, I would say. I would say that's pretty good chance, right? Because um I mean, if Justin Herbert's not playing, then uh I would say Broncos have a pretty good chance. We have no idea what can happen, but that's probably where they're at. And then right now, um, is that uh Chicago, as long as they beat the Lions, they will have the second seed, which I mean, pretty important, right? Pretty important. Um, the uh the Los Angeles Rams could potentially win. I don't know if their seating can change on that or not, but right now the home teams for the NFC are looking like the Bears, right? Um, and the Eagles, and unfortunately, but it is the truth, is whoever wins the division, right, first round, has that home court. So Tampa or Carolina is going to have home court against probably San Francisco or LA, and we'll probably lose in the first round. AFC looks like the Broncos will lock this up for the bye, but anything's possible. Home court teams are looking like New England is going to get the second seed as long as they beat Miami. Jacksonville, and again, similar idea here. Whoever wins between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, they're going to get a home court game for the wild card round. Um, so that's that. Hold on, let me block this spam in chat here. There it goes. Okay, his team was Drake May. Okay, very solid. Not That's a very solid pick. James Cook. Okay, good, good, good. Javonte Williams. He did get injured in the playoffs, but he still got his pieces there. Rico Dowdle. So during that stretch, Rico Dowdle was definitely doing really well. He'll probably flex Rico then. And then Chris Olave. Oh my God, he had a great end of season. Chris Olave, once Tyler Show took over here, Shuck or whatever, he had a great season. Jamar Chase, okay. Very, very good once Flacco and Burrow came in. Trey McBride, league winner. And then Devontae Smith and Quentin Johnson as depth. Travis Etienne as well. Whoa, okay. He had a really good team. Wow. Wow. He had a really good team. He had a very good team because Chris Olave and Jamar Chase were basically like, even though they had a tough start to the year, they basically were the best wide receivers in the game for playoffs and the end of the season. Travis Etienne and James Cook had great playoff runs. Um, Seattle defense. Okay, wow, that's solid. That is rock solid there. Well, tell your dad I tip my hat to him, and much celebrations for him. Um, Much love. Much love to you, Cole. Much love. Hopefully the Broncos make it far for you. Um, you guys might have to play us Raiders in the Super Bowl, but best of luck to the Broncos. After this weekend, we'll probably be able to make our playoff bracket. So who who do we think is going to do some damage here in the playoffs? So Denver, man, the AFC is so interesting because if it really comes down to Buffalo versus New England for the first round of playoffs, that kind of sucks if I'm being honest. Like in the AFC, it's almost like, you know, um you would rather be the third or the fourth to not play Buffalo in that first round. But it is what it is. It is what it is for New England. If that is what it turns out to be, Jacksonville, I feel like can make some sneaky noise this year. Houston has made some crazy noise at the end of this season. Starting off really poorly, but then closing the season super strong. So between Houston and Jacksonville, those are the teams with some momentum right now. I feel like, um, hopefully, could see some playoff runs there. Um, NFC side, I feel like Green Bay's kind of been stumbling, especially since Micah Parsons got injured. I don't, they were probably projected in the first half of the season to be a Super Bowl contender, but I think they'll probably be bounced in the playoffs. Um, it'll be interesting to see how far Chicago can take this. Um, LA native, so kind of rooting for the Rams, but I've seen some things past couple weeks very concerning, right, with the losses and mainly on special teams. So hopefully they could clean that up a bit. Um, and then unfortunately with San Francisco losing, uh there is no home court for the Rams or San Francisco. Um so we shall see. We shall see what happens there. Early, way too early predictions without looking into things. Um, it's hard to write off Philadelphia being the reigning champs, but if I were to take a stab at it, um, I would say one of the NFC West teams would be the one to make it to the Super Bowl. Could be wrong, but that's what I would kind of bet on if I had to only choose one. If I could only choose one, I guess my home court blood takes over in that sense to hope the Rams to make it. Um, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. I want to believe in Sam Darnold, but I just don't. I just don't. But I can buy the idea of San Francisco of potentially making it if with the rumors I saw were true, Fred Warner potentially coming back. Um, if they make it out of the wild card round. So, that could be not only a physical presence on the field, but a morale boost as well. So, as long as SF makes it out that first round, and if Fred Warner does come back, um, who knows? Who knows? Um, AFC side, you know, I think, I think, uh, I think it's gonna shape up like this, right? Is if Buff if Buffalo really does play New England um in the first round, I'm gonna bet Buffalo to win that. And then if Buffalo then because they're the worst, if they end up being the worst seed, ends up playing Denver next at Denver. I don't know. That could be an interesting story to see Buffalo make it. Uh who I would put money on in most situations, or where I am at, I don't know. I kind of like what I've seen from Jacksonville, this year in that offense. How I kind of foresee this, or like how I feel about this, is kind of like 2021 when the Rams won the Super Bowl, and how um like Joe Burrow like snuck Joe Burrow like as like a second year with Jamar Chase as like a freshman, or whatever it was. Like, I forgot how many years they were in the league, like um made it to the Super Bowl that year. That's how I feel about Jacksonville this year. Um in that sense. So maybe I might, if I build a bracket, I might do that. I might do that. Um, you know, uh and put them against the Rams and the Rams winning or something like that. But in terms of what would be crazy, like, and what would show the world of how important, you know, uh coaching is if, New England or Jacksonville or even Houston made it um to the Super Bowl, and then like the Bears make it. That would be insane to me. That would be insane. Um we can all wish and hope, right? We can all wish and hope, but that would be crazy to see like a Bears Jacksonville Super Bowl where, these coaches move for the first time, and these teams that completely look like, you know, no chance, no shot, maybe 500 teams or a little above 500 all of a sudden make it to the playoffs because of a coach. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy to me. Um, you know, I in 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 terms of generational quarterbacks or whatever you want to call it, this playoffs structure this year with um some of the teams, like, I guess let's be specific, right? With Mahomes being out of the AFC this year, um, and, and the Chiefs, how they like to compare. Okay, there's Mahomes, and then there's Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, right? Um, well, you know, this this is a chance with potentially. I mean, Baltimore might make it, right? They could beat Pittsburgh, but they might not make it. So this is a chance for Josh Allen to capitalize on that. But his receiving core is so weak. He would have to do some amazing things um, to make that happen. Um, it'd be cool to see a LA finals as well. Uh, very very small shot of of that happening, but that'd be something interesting to see. I believe the Super Bowl's in San Francisco this year, right? So probably a lot of SF fans want San Francisco to be able to take it, so then they have a home court game for the Super Bowl. I mean, that would paint a very interesting story. Um, but I think very little shot of Pittsburgh or Baltimore, whoever does that to make it. Very little shot of Tampa Bay or Carolina to make it. But and then Green Bay, probably don't think they can make it. Um, Everybody else, who knows? If I'm being honest, to make it. So this year to me is very exciting, very very exciting, because it's like who's gonna make it? Like, when you build the brackets or whatever, when you build your expectations, most people would have put Philadelphia to this Super Bowl or the finals, or at least the conference finals, right? Last year. Same thing for the Chiefs. I mean, it's hard to bet against these teams, those teams last year, right? Uh, But this year, it's like anybody, almost anybody could do something. Um, so that's kind of an overview of the playoff picture. We'll be able to be making some brackets for the playoffs after this weekend. I'll probably make one or a couple or something just to screw around and see. Maybe put the Raiders as the Super Bowl winners. But we'll see. Ryan, good day. How are you? How are you? Happy New Year to you, Ryan. Good afternoon. Good day to you as well. Uh, what's the highlight? What's going on with you? If you check the chat, Rip in the chat, he had his dad go undefeated in fantasy football this year. That is crazy to me. That is so crazy to me that I don't think I've ever seen anyone go undefeated in fantasy football. How many years? Been like over 10 years of playing um multiple leagues for many of those years. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go undefeated. So that's pretty crazy. How'd you do this year, Ryan? How you doing? I forgot who's your team? Who is your team for the playoffs? Um, but we're just discussing playoffs, pictures, and all that kind of stuff. The games will be getting started soon, so we'll get some analysis of the games going. Might be projecting some over unders instead of start sit because obviously there's no start sit in playoffs. But maybe instead I'll look at a player from each position on each team. Like let's say Buffalo does play New England, choose a quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, and running back from each team, and project some over unders for the playoffs. Choose the games that I want to watch or something. We'll see. Ravens. That's right. That is right. Okay. So tonight's game determines it all for you. Tonight's game determines it all for you. So best of luck. Best of luck tonight, there, Ryan, with the Ravens. What is that spread? Let me see. Ravens, Steelers at Pittsburgh. I think the spread was in favor of the Ravens, if I remember correctly. Uh, let's see. Is it 3.5? 3.5, it looks like. 3.5 over under around 41. So they're projecting a pretty low scoring game. Okay, is Jackson playing? Is Jackson playing today? Let me see. Because that was a question mark, right? Will play. Okay, he's gonna play. All right. Well, looks like you have a decent shot. You have a decent shot. Chef D has the rumor out that the loser of tonight's game may lose their coach of tonight's game. Oh. So my thoughts on that are, right? So you look at both those coaches, I believe both won a Super Bowl, right? So it's kind of like you have the clout, right, of a great coach. However, their wins were over a decade ago, right? I believe both of them were over a decade ago. You could fact check on me on that, but I believe it was like what, like for the Ravens, like 2011 or something like that, and the Steelers, like 2010 or something like that. So it's been a long time since they won the Super Bowls. But then since then, especially with Jackson in, both teams have like made playoffs, right? Ravens at time high seeding, but have not done anything. So I feel like the market sentiment for each team, and you can correct me if I'm wrong as a Ravens fan on what you think of Harbaugh, but it's like I feel like the sentiment is like, all right, we're making it every year, but we're not finishing the job, right? Because I don't know if the Ravens have even made the finals since then, have they? I don't think so, right? So my perception is that most fan bases are willing to just roll the dice with the new coach and turn it over because like it hasn't worked so far. I don't know what the validity of this is, but on the Ravens side, is it also true that Lamar Jackson may not be uh happy and or wanting to return to the and play for the Ravens in the future? I don't know if that's truth or not either. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my initial thought. Steelers are super loyal to their coaches. They haven't had many. Yes, they are. They are very loyal. Um, so I don't, I don't see either of them giving it up, but it's possible. But I did like to hear your thoughts on the Ravens though, since you know them better than me. Andrew says, "Good day or good day, Andrew. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you're well." Boo! Kyle Pitts legacy game. You would have won your whole league. Hope everyone else had a good year, dude. I know, right? Holy smokes, bro. Holy smokes. Kyle Pitts. Who would have known that he was a league winner, or at least like a finals getter, whatever you want to call it, um, for the team. That that was pretty crazy. I'm gonna be so interested to see how tight ends are drafted next year. Like do the like this year shows how that can go real poorly, real fast, and like how sometimes that position can be turned upside down because you had top two to three round draft picks of Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle, right? And you got Trey McBride winning leagues, but then the other two guys losing your league almost, right? Like I had Kittle and got injured worst possible time, right? Um, he was injured for multiple parts of the season. So was Brock Bowers. So it's like, and then on the opposite end, you have these guys like Kyle Pitts, Harold Fannin, who were potentially like not even drafted in some leagues or like drafted at the end of the draft who end up being like league winners. I know that happens in every position, but tight end is like so thin. And then like to use that in draft, I basically, let's say like I drafted George Kittle instead of like JSN, you know, like that's how that decision went, I guess. Um, so I I I feel for you basically on the Kyle Pitts parts, but much love to you. Best of luck next year. We're just counting away the days till draft season again, right? We're just counting away the days until draft season. And I don't know if anyone's in Dynasty, but I'm always curious to know, like I'm not sure if anyone has any experience or thoughts on Dynasty, but like, is it more fun to do the Dynasty draft, like let's say, you know, after the Super Bowl, you know, and then do a second draft after the rookies are drafted, or if you're like let's say starting a dynasty league this year, or is it more fun to do that all in one draft? I don't know. I don't know. I was kind of like I kind of heard that thought this last week and I was like, actually that's an interesting thought. I'm not sure which one I would like. Um but we'll get the commentary started soon. Ryan says Ravens just need to get their defense back after losing Suggs and other defensive players. They haven't been diehard defensive players. They haven't been the same. Okay, that is very true, right? Because now that I think about it, a couple years ago when Ravens are on top bye week or whatever, their defense in fantasy was always a scoring defense, high turnover volume and scoring, which obviously means some scoring opportunities as well, right? But that is very true. That has not been the case as of recent, now that I think about that. Okay, that's a very fair assessment. Um, that's a fair assessment. That is a fair assessment. Their coach, they keep their coach and make Lamar run less. I can agree to that, but I'm confused on what the Ravens did was why did they sign Mark Andrews to such a big contract? Like, what does that mean to your team? Because like where I thought you guys would go would take Likely, you know, if you wanted Andrews again, take him on a short contract, but keep Likely and then pivot towards him and another receiver to back up Zay Flowers so that you can take the pressure off Lamar from the run game and have multiple receiving options. But signing that big contract with Andrews, I'm like, okay, well, I would have looked at it more like, wouldn't you keep Likely since he's younger in the build and then maybe try to move like how Jacoby Myers was a move, like that's what I was envisioning, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you got thoughts on that, um, Ryan. So Andrew says he's a dream killer. Glad you found the stream football season. I'm glad you were here too, bros. It was always fun. It was always fun. I don't know if you watch playoffs, but I'm gonna figure out a way to make playoffs fun. For those of you who will be watching playoff games, I'll figure out a way. It was always good to chat with you too, bro. Very, very good to meet you as well, Andrew. I know it's bittersweet that it's wrapped up. It is wrapped up, but much love to you. Happy New Year. Hopefully, see you around maybe here and there during playoffs, and if not, for sure next year, right? For sure next year. But much love to you too, Andrew. Much love, much appreciation. It was always fun. It was always fun. JB, looking for DFS stream. Uh, nice. Yeah, so I'm gonna be continuing to try to stream through the playoffs. Through the playoffs. So good to meet you, JB. And guys, drop a like if you can. Helps us get to reach more and more people. Much love to you, JB. Do you got anybody in the playoffs that you're hoping wins? Got a team or anything like that? And Rip says, you'll definitely tell his dad. Someone hit your car right now? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Someone just hit your car. That sucks. Oh, much love. Much love to you. Hopefully you can get that figured out. Hopefully it's not too bad of damage and things like that, but much love and prayers to you. JB says Mark Andrews more like a blocker, likely is just a passing tight end. No. Yeah, so that I'm thinking the exact same thing, right? What we were talking about in that context, JB, was that if we kept the same team of the Ravens, right? And, you know, not Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson gets injured this year. So, okay, do we not want him to run as much, right? Next year, like, what are we doing? And so I was basically saying, like, to do that, since Ryan's team is the Ravens, like, what do you think about, like, that decision, right, that they drafted or that they re-signed Mark Andrews to a big contract? Because him and I were both in that same agreement, like, okay, like, maybe take some of that running pressure off Jackson, turn him into a more, pass first quarterback, and instead of running 10 to 15 times a game, run 5, but then build the pieces around him like Isaiah Likely or a receiver to allow that to happen and make the offense flow. But I was like, but signing Mark Andrews felt counterintuitive to that type of offense. That's basically what we were talking about. There. Rip says kind of happy because you had a scratch when he hit, so they can get it fixed. Oh, wow. So okay, so you got hit and you know who the person is, so it wasn't a hit and run. Okay, in my head, it was kind of like a hit and run. But hopefully that works out. Hopefully that works out for you, Cole. Hopefully that works out. Much love to you in that situation. Mark Andrew was contract was a head scratcher for you. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, huh? Right. Okay. So I'm not crazy for thinking that that contract was a little out of whack. They could have freed up money for some younger players. Exactly. Okay, so that's exactly what I was thinking and alluding to. Because yeah, okay. So I am not crazy on that one. And Cole says you exchange info. Good. Okay, good. All right, so I just turned on the games, and the first play I saw was Kyle Pitts catching a big pass. And so, guys, vote on this game. I'm curious to know what you guys think between the Falcons and the Saints. Like, do you guys care who wins this game? Bucks going to playoffs or Panthers? Does anybody care about this? I just think it's so interesting, and I don't like how you can have the season done, but you going to playoffs lays in the hands of other teams. That's so weird to me. It's like who cares who wins, Saints or Falcons? Just have those two guys like, go play another overtime, and whoever scores the touchdown between the Bucks and the Carolina or whatever, right, when it goes to playoffs. But it's so weird that's like, all right, this game is done. Now we're just going to sit here and watch two other teams play for who goes to playoffs. That almost feels like a team could take a bribe. It almost feels like the Bucks could call up, the Falcons, be like, "Yo, we'll pay you like $1 million and just throw this game for it." Like it feels so weird that like you don't control your own destiny to go to playoffs. In this case, there's a fumble that just happened. By the way, fumble just happened as well in the Cleveland game. Okay, you kind of want Bryce Young to go. The NFC South situation is crazy. I know. It's so crazy. I want to see like this is my theory. Okay, and Tennessee looks like they scored a touchdown. Cam Ward running it in maybe, but he looks a little bit hurt. So Cam Ward running in the touchdown. I think this is the first score of the day, I believe, of any team. So Cam Ward rushing touchdown to go up on the Jags. But yeah, that NFC South situation is so crazy. This is like my hope, right? This is my hope. I don't know if their general management in Carolina is this good and the coaching philosophy or whatnot, but like my hope is that they go into this offseason and look at things and say, okay, you know, this did not work. We wanted a super slow paced, run the football, play defense, and try to play like the Eagles, almost like, right? Um, to win these football games because it kind of worked for a little bit. But the problem with that is like it puts so much pressure on Bryce Young, I feel like, to hit these like 3rd and 7s. And what I'm hoping is in this offseason, they look at instead getting these guys, Tetaroa, um, even the guys like Coker or Leggett, right? Getting a good passing game going and really trying to develop that connection for Bryce Young because I think there is a lot of potential there, but I feel like trying to slow that offense down. Carolina is there's just not enough possessions in the game when they play like that because Bryce Young or somebody keeps turning the ball over, you know. But I do want to see them succeed because I do believe Tetaroa could potentially turn into somebody, of every year name like these guys of like Puka, CeeDee Lamb, and stuff like that. He looks really good. He's got a really good size, catches the ball well, so that connection could be everything. Alec Pierce catching a touchdown on 3rd and 7. Wow, 66-yard touchdown for the Colts here. Riley Leonard throwing a touchdown to Alec Pierce for the Colts. 60-yard touchdown. Colts are not going down without a fight. And you got the Bengals as well scoring a touchdown. Cincinnati Bengals just scored a touchdown as well with Chase Brown. Nothing for them but pride to win this game. And we had Chase Brown getting a touchdown. Ryan says needed that Pierce touchdown last week. Oh, geez. Oh, my goodness. I know. I know. It always happens like that, right? The team blows up the week after. Um, but yeah, so there we had a couple touchdowns, and it looks like Cam Ward might be in concussion protocol right now or something. So he is hurt. So we'll see what happens there. Um, we got uh we got some crazy things happen. I believe what I also missed was an interception by Kirk Cousins in the red zone to the Saints. So there was a big play change there as well because the Falcons marched it all the way down to about the 15-yard line, and then Kirk Cousins threw an interception, I think. So now the Saints are taking over. And I have Tyler Show or Shuck. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Yeah. I've heard it said both ways. So um, someone correct me. Someone correct me. But I feel like if he wins this game today, like how do you not give him the MVP, right? Um, he's hasn't thrown, you know, 4 touchdowns a game, but come on, he's winning. You know, he's definitely changed the whole flow of that offense since he started. So uh, we'll see. Lots of crazy stuff happening in this conference. Looks like right now most people want the Falcons to win so that the Panthers make the playoffs. We were just talking about Bryce Young and what he means to his team and potential. And we got right now Brian Thomas Jr. catching a good chunk play pass, about 22 yards for Jacksonville after the Titans scored on their first drive with Cam Ward with the rushing touchdown, but he got hurt on the play, potentially. Might be in concussion protocol, Cam Ward. So we'll see. We will see if Cam Ward can come back. But I was speaking on earlier, this Jaguars team reminded me a lot of the Cincinnati team in 2021 that made it to the Super Bowl, where, you know, just everything came together for them, and looking good. And I kind of want to see, uh, I kind of want to see, um, you know, this momentum continue. But we'll see. We'll see what the Jaguars can end up doing. I like, you know, offensive teams with a good defense, obviously, right? Um, so the Jaguars offense has been looking really good. Their defense has played well for streaks of the year. So let's see if we can get, you know, for this playoff run, the Jaguars to go on some type of run, um, or not. So they're marching towards the red zone, are the Jaguars. They are on the 33-yard line across midfield, 1st and 10, and nothing there on first down. And the Colts against the Houston Texans are up 7-3. The Texans have a field goal, but they have the ball after the 60-yard Alec Pierce touchdown. A 60-yard Alec Pierce touchdown. I'm going to do a touchdown thing again just for that. That was a really big play against a really good defense, right? The Texans being normally a good defense. Okay, so 2nd and 10 here from the Jaguars after nothing there on that first down. Taking a shotgun pass, looking and hitting Jacoby Myers. Now, Jacoby Myers for this team, I feel like he was that key piece that got them to go on this run. Um, just missing that reliable player, right? Not necessarily this crazy X receiver, 10 catches every game, 150 yards. No, he's that guy that, he's got 5 catches and 70 yards a game, but those 5 catches are like on third down or critical plays or whatever they are, right? To move the football. I feel like Jacoby's fit into this offense really well into that spot and really freeing up the other guys like Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr. to make bigger plays. Um, who's the super early Super Bowl picks? Yup. Good question. So I was just talking about that. So there is the logical end, right? There is the logical end, and then there is the what would be cool, right? What would be cool, or what do I want, right? Um on the overall, I'm gonna make a bracket and probably have it ready before, but who I would kind of have if I had to put money on things to go to the finals, I would probably put the money on the uh Rams, and then I'm debating between the Broncos and the Jags. Um on the other side, the Rams, just because I'm you know they're my home team. I physically watched them play a lot, just like you watched the Broncos. Even though I'm a Raiders fan, they're kind of like everyone I knew from back home there. So that's kind of what I want, but I don't think it's that out of the pocket to think that in that conference. I feel like anything could happen um there. Uh and then between the Jaguars and the Broncos, I think logic says the home court of the Broncos will take it. But just speaking on that Jaguars offense and how their defense is decent, I'm hoping you know they can make something happen. On the like emotional or fun end, it would be cool to see Chargers versus Rams, LA versus LA, but that's not going to happen. Um, and what else could be cool to me is seeing some of these first year coaches who turned around these teams that completely you did not believe had a chance, right? Like the Bears, or the Texans, or the Jags kind of fit in that category too, right? Like I like to see those type of stories, where in the beginning of the year, kind of like the Redskins last, or they're not called the Redskins anymore. Sorry, the Commanders, um, last year, right? Like making it as far as they did, nobody would have thought that would have happened at the start of last year. So that's kind of like my analysis. I assume you think you got the Broncos winning the Super Bowl, but maybe I'm wrong. Who do you got? Who do you guys got? Who do you guys got? Who do you guys have for early Super Bowl picks? All right. I think I had who did I say? So I said logic wise, I had Broncos versus Rams, and then emotional wise, I'd say uh Jags versus Bears. That's who I got. All right. And Cole's has hold on. Let me put this spam in the chat. Gone. Okay, you said you got Denver, Jags, and Houston scare you. In the NFC, you got the Seahawks. Dude, the Seahawks defense last night just impressed me so much. I didn't watch the game. I honestly kind of got bored. But like when I get bored, that obviously means the defense is really good. And then you just looked at that box. I looked at that box score too, and holy smokes, SF, one of the best offenses in the league, all of a sudden can't get a play over like 9 yards in the game. Like holy smokes. And then a critical turnover, right? I think that was a huge one Christian McCaffrey's hands in the red zone, that was like the whole game right there. That was the whole game. That's why you got them. Yeah, I know. When it comes down to the playoffs, there's so much more pressure. Like it just everything gets zoomed in, right? And there's like more pressure, so every drive matters more. And that's when defense that's when defense will really, really matter. Okay, so you got Broncos versus Seahawks. All right. All right. That is that's good. That is good. That Super Bowl might be like 6-9, 6 versus 9 or something if it was the Seahawks versus the Broncos. That might be, like a field goal is going to win you the game with no touchdowns or something like that. That's what that game feels like to me. Um okay. Um so let me update the scores and stuff. Um because some things did happen while we were gone. Uh we had here we go. Touchdown by Trevor Lawrence to Parker Washington, which again, we're just talking about how that pickup of Jacoby Myers helped open up that offense so much for these guys like Parker Washington and Travis Etienne to have really good, good seasons. All right. So that happened, and then Texans scored a second field goal. Um, Giants scored a field goal, but no big touchdowns besides the ones that we already covered. Okay, so that is catching us up. Okay, so yeah, you agree, Rip, huh? You agree there. So Broncos versus Seahawks would probably be the most the most defensive. What would be the most offensive? I would say Patriots versus 49ers. That Super Bowl might be like 45-50 as the final score or something like that. Um, Patriots versus 49ers. That would be a crazy offensive, I feel like, Super Bowl there. So the most defensive would probably be Broncos versus Seahawks or Texans versus Seahawks. Yeah. And then the most offensive could be Patriots versus 49ers. But it'll probably fall somewhere in the middle there, right? But we do have a field goal that was good in the Cowboys game. But in our spotlight game, there's still no score. So go ahead and vote on that because, guys, this is insane that we're watching the two worst teams in the division play to determine which of the two best teams in division is going to go to the playoffs. And nobody scored yet. I believe if it's a tie, it's counted as a Saints victory. So then the Bucks still go to the playoffs. So the only way for Carolina to go is Atlanta has to win outright. Um, because the reason I I know that is because I had that thought. I was like, what happens if these guys tie? And I went in and Googled it. I was like, what would happen if they if the Falcons and Saints ended in a tie? But we got 3rd and 10 here. We got 3rd and 10 happening for the Colts, who are up 7-6 versus the Houston Texans. 60-yard touchdown from Alec Pierce gave them that touchdown, but 3rd and 10 here on this next drive. All right, they got nothing there, so the Colts will be turning it over back to Houston. All right. So, what else do we got going on? Oh, it looks like a blocked punt by the Falcons defense is going to give Atlanta good field position here. So we got first and goal for the Falcons after that block punt. Wow, first and goal on the 5-yard line. So the Falcons, huge play there. So that, and Bijan is able to just walk it basically into the end zone. There is a flag down, but as of right now, we have Bijan Robinson into the end zone. Oh, penalty on the offense. Wipes it off. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down. All right. So on a fake punt, wow, on a fake punt, the Colts convert. Wow. That is crazy. They basically did this play from their own red zone. So a very aggressive play to say the least. But it converted. It converted. And the Bengals up 6-0 after a Chase Brown touchdown have it back into the red zone against the Browns. Inside the 10-yard line is going to be a first and goal situation for them. And we got Atlanta still tied 0-0 going into a timeout. And we have Justin Jefferson and the Vikings up 3-0 against the Packers in the first quarter. We got Justin Jefferson with 50 yards, trying to get a 1,000-yard season. So it's looking like he's going to hit his 1,000-yard season. Joe Burrow has it tipped at the line of scrimmage inside the red zone, and he just threw a pick six. Potentially. Depends on if Chase Brown could catch him. Nope. Oh my goodness. There is a flag on the field, but as of right now, the Browns have a pick six off of a deflected pass at the line of scrimmage. 97-yard return. So we'll see what happens here. All right. What do they say here? What do they say? Touchdown is good. So interception deflected at the line of scrimmage. Joe Burrow passing on the 7-yard line-ish on first and goal. Deflected to a pick six. Oh, wow. All right. Okay, so that just happened. And we have Drake London catching a touchdown. So Drake London catching a touchdown here, putting the Falcons on the board. So Cousins to Drake London for the touchdown. There you go. That's good to see. Drake London getting a little bit of usage, right? To end the season after injuring his knee. It's good to see him break free and get a touchdown. So touchdown, Kirk Cousins to Drake London. There you go. Putting the Falcons up. All right, so there they go. They strike first. So advantage Carolina. Advantage Carolina right now. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine being like the Bucks in Carolina, people sitting at home just like cheering for your division rival just because if they win, you're going to go to the playoffs. All right. So Falcons are up 7-0. against the Saints. Let's get this score updated, everybody. So the Falcons with the lead after Drake London catching a touchdown from Kirk Cousins. All right. There we go. Let me update this. Here we go. All right, that is updated. That is updated. Okay. Way too early thoughts for next year's draft. I think Alec Pierce is the number one wide receiver in that offense. Way too early prediction. If Daniel Jones could even come back, or who is going to be the, who is going to be the quarterback in the Colts. We're not sure what Daniel Jones, if he'll be ready or not. But way too early prediction. Alec Pierce is the best wide receiver on that offense next year. That's my guess. All right, we got Cowboys Giants tied 3-3, and the Giants are putting the football up for a field goal, now up 6-3. 6-3 there. All right. So they're showing the touchdown again from Drake London. Just getting into the end zone. There. So Falcons up 7-0. Sergeant Halo, you won your league for the first time. Let's go. Let's go. Look at all. Get some celebrations in the chat for you. Much love, my guy. Congratulations for winning. Congratulations for winning. You get to you get to wear the crown this year. You get to wear the crown this year. You've had 5 different winners in 5 years. Oh, that's awesome. That's a really, really fun league to be able to have different winners. But congratulations. Congratulations. Do you guys have a trophy? If you don't have a trophy, you gotta get a crown or something and send the picture to your league. But congratulations. I forgot who's on your team that helped you win, but I imagine it was somebody like either Trey McBride or Derrick Henry or somebody like that did you good. Maybe Christian McCaffrey. But congrats, Sergeant Halo. Celebrations to you. Much love to you and your team. Congratulations, guys. Drop a like if you can. Much, much appreciated. And congrats to all the winners. Congrats to all the winners. Yeah, Jabbar, JSN, Olave, and Purdy. Ooh. Oh, that was a good stack. That was a really good stack last week. Congrats. Congrats. Woohoo. Let's go. Celebrations to you. But congrats, Sergeant Halo. I don't know if you have a team for the playoffs, if your team is still in it, but good luck for the Super Bowl if your team is still in it. And nothing's happening for the Titans. They're showing their third down and nothing's good for them. Oh, your Broncos country too. We got some, wow. That's crazy. We got some Denver fans up in here with you, Sergeant Halo. We got some Denver fans here with you as well. Okay, so you got the Broncos going to the Super Bowl from the AFC. Who do you think will be the Super Bowl match? You're projecting the Patriots over your Broncos? No, bro. You you gotta vote for your Broncos, man. You gotta vote for your Broncos going to the Super Bowl. There's Rip. There's Cole. He's a Broncos fan too. You gotta vote for your Broncos, man, to go. Who do I think? So how I like think of this is there is my logical brain and then there is my emotional brain. And so um you know, I honestly think the NFC is like I think basically any team can make it from there besides either the Bucks or Carolina and the Packers. But like I don't think there's advantage anyways. So what the logical part of me looks at is like who has the best side on both sides of the football. And I think even though the Rams have lost to, I think they're the most balanced um, team. I think the Seahawks have the best defense, right? But I don't believe in Darnold as much as Stafford. And then the Eagles being the reigning champs, I just don't like their offense either. And their defense has been susceptible at times. So I feel like the Rams are the most balanced on both sides of the football. And then in terms of the AFC, you know, because the Broncos have home court advantage and their offense plays well at home and their defense is good, I do believe the Broncos have like logically the best kind of shot since they're going to have the home court and that's like where their splits have shown. But, uh anything could happen, right? And I do on the emotional side, on who I want to see. I want to see the Jaguars. I want to see the Jaguars potentially do well. I feel like they look like the Cincinnati team that made it to the Super Bowl that lost to the Rams. So emotionally, I want them, or I want a Chargers Rams LA thing from being from LA. Even though I'm a Raiders fan, unfortunately, we were very close to winning the Super Bowl this year, but we just had to give it to everybody else this year. We just had to give it to everybody else. So emotionally, Chargers versus Rams might be cool, but I don't think that's going to happen. Jaguars, I think, have a legit shot for the playoffs, and you know it's kind of cool to see the Bears where they're at. Nobody thought they would make the playoffs, and I do think they have a decent, legitimate shot of making a run. I don't know about making it to the Super Bowl, but that might be interesting. Um, and then in terms of like pure offense, Patriots versus 49ers would be crazy funny or awesome, right? Just like 100 points in the Super Bowl game. Um, Emotionally as well, maybe Josh Allen making a run of something. That's kind of like my overall thoughts. Drake May is MVP. Broncos can't score this season. See, but Broncos couldn't score on the road, right? Broncos couldn't score on the road. So while I agree with you, like I I think Bo Nix needs a little bit of what's it called? Polishing, Um I kind of agree that like if they're forced to score, you know, maybe not. But I feel like in in being at home is like the entire playoffs, right? They would be at home the entire playoffs. Is like that's one of the teams I feel like it actually matters a lot for is the Broncos like being at home. Um Broncos play good in big games, just bad against bad teams. I know. Almost letting the Raiders win is hilarious, right? Um almost almost letting the Raiders win not just once, but you know, uh twice is pretty funny. Um and then almost giving it, to the Giants. Like, yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. there. Oh my goodness. Let me put these people in the spam for the chat. Hide it real quick. Ryan says, you think Texans and Eagles? Wow. That is a cool bracket. That is a cool bracket. You think Barkley will be well rested for the playoffs? True. Okay, because he's taking this week off, right? And you think Houston's defense will continue to overwhelm? I agree. I agree on Houston's defense being something that can overwhelm. My problem with Houston is, can we think of like a Super Bowl contending team that didn't have like a run game? That's like, even though they're, CJ Stroud on the pass game is kind of iffy, sometimes you get that, but I'm trying to like remember any Super Bowl teams that like, didn't have a run game presence, because I feel like that's kind of huge in the playoffs, right? But I like your bracket. Like, I don't think many people are picking Eagles Houston to make it. But that's an interesting bracket. I do like that bracket. Those are like dark horse picks, right? Dark horse picks for both conferences. So I like that. Anything could happen this year. Seriously, anything could happen this year. Saints miss a field goal attempt. And right now the Colts are winning 10-6 against the Texans. So Stroud, I feel like the Texans offensive line is not that strong. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. Woody Marks, I do kind of agree with that. Um, I do agree with that. Uh, I just like, I don't know. Can maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Can we rely on him for that heavy usage? During the playoffs, that's Woody. I do honestly believe that Woody Marks maybe next year will be somebody, you know, in the top, you know, borderline running back 1 to 2. Like, I see him honestly as a really good running back. Like, um, I just don't know if that offensive line, and he's kind of limping into playoffs, isn't he? Wasn't he hurt last week? Um, okay, so this is crazy because the Cleveland Browns have now scored on a fumble 6. So they just scored again. So Browns have 2 defensive touchdowns as of right now. That's crazy. Eagles are built to win. Everyone is out on the Bills. You like that everyone is out on the Bills. Yeah, like there were flashes during this season where I'm like, okay, maybe, but it's just like you got to put it all together week after week, right? And while I feel like Josh Allen could make a bunch of magic happen, it's just like you need to win, you know, every game, right? And I just don't know if he can make magic happen, 4 times in a row, or is it four? One, two, yeah, four, right? He'd have to play four. So that's the question, like I don't know. I don't think this Bills offense can do that when their best receiver, is who, right? Is who. Um so I agree with that. All right, we got touchdown for the Jags. So touchdown for the Jags. I don't know if it was Strange. It looked like Strange. I'm gonna pretend like it was Brenton Strange from Trevor Lawrence right now. But it was a touchdown from Trevor Lawrence. Let me see, who is it? Yeah, it was. I believe it was Strange. It cut off at the last second, but I believe it was Strange. All right. And then Ryan says Chubb gets the tough yards and Marks is the speed back. So you got you Chubb as your goal line back. You know, we'll see. Jordan's an interesting because they brought in a third back now too, right? Who had like 100 game when was it Marks got injured? Um, so I I think Houston will be interesting next year. I don't think they'll keep Chubb. I think they'll keep maybe the other two, Marks and Jordan, and that might be something interesting worth seeing um, next year. So Falcons are up 7-0, driving the ball again against the Saints. So right now, Carolina's pretty happy with what things look like for them right now. Up 7-0, and the Falcons are driving the ball again. So that's pretty good. Um, and the Bengals are down 14-6 because the Cleveland Browns have 2 defensive touchdowns. The Browns have 14 points and it's all defense. And Jamar Chase catching a first down, moving the ball to about midfield. And we got the Texans down 6-10, 3rd and 5 here inside the red zone against the Colts. Here it comes. Looks like Woody Marks gets the first down on 3rd and 5 on a handoff. So just barely gets the first down, maybe an extra half yard or so. And it will bring a 1st and 10 in around the red zone for the Texans. So Woody Marks getting that first down. Shout out Ryan for believing in Woody Marks. Here he's got 9 rushes for 33 yards, 11-yard line, man in motion, play action. Stroud looking for the end zone, finding his man. Did he get both feet down? He did. And they're saying Jaden Higgins for the touchdown. That's a name that next year, just make a small note on your draft board. Way too early prediction, but if Houston can better their offensive line a little bit, we always talk about the second receiver getting good work. And while Nico Collins is definitely the number 1 there, Jaden Higgins has been actually really good. What I mean by that is like he looks good in his routes, he looks good on the field. It's just, are the opportunities going to be there next year? Right? Because this year the Texans are all defense, control ball flow, but if they have to open it up a little bit next year and get some more passing through CJ Stroud, if the defenses are going to be focused on Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins looks like he's good enough to do that kind of what's it called? Like who are good examples, right? That like T Higgins role or George Pickens role. I'm not saying Jaden Higgins is gonna have a George Pickens year, right? But Jamison Williams, right? Some of these guys who sneak into the top 24 wide receivers on the year, be interesting to see. All right. So right now, it looks like there is some debate happening between the Saints and the Falcons on if there was a fumble or not. They hit Kirk Cousins as he was throwing on his throwing arm, and so they're looking to see, is this a fumble or a forward pass? So big call happening there. The Giants kick a field goal and are good. They are down 10-9 against Cowboys. And Ryan says, thanks for the shout out. You're welcome. Great point with Higgins. Could be a sneaky pick. Yeah. I don't know. With this last week, I'm just throwing out way too early thoughts just based on what I feel on this past year. Jaguars are going to be so interesting to watch over the offseason. Who do you got? You got BTJ, Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, Travis Hunter, and Brenton Strange. And if you keep ETN in the backfield or Tootin, like that's good, like that's like so good on the offensive end that they're finally at that point where they're like, okay, if we really do need Hunter on the cornerback side, like they could do that and have just as strong of an offense. So that's also interesting to see what are they going to do in this offseason there. Um curious curious to see how far Jacksonville can make it. I really want to know if is Trevor Lawrence the real deal, right? Can he maintain this composure in playoffs? If so, they should be able to do something. They should be able to do something in playoffs. Ryan says, what happens with Cousins if he comes out and wins in a couple playoff games? He will get to host the first game, and how smart he is about the money back to the Vikings. But Cousins cannot make the playoffs, though. Um, he can't make the playoffs. So are you saying if he wins this game, and then if they move him in the offseason, from what I'm thinking is like, I think obviously they want Penix to be the guy, but I don't know if he's guaranteed to start next season with his injury. And because Kirk Cousins knows the offense, I feel like unless they can basically get rid of his contract with very little dead money, I feel like why not keep him next year? You already have to pay this man absorbent amounts of money, right? I don't see anybody being like, "Oh yeah, let's go take up that big Kirk Cousins contract, right, for Kirk Cousins." So it almost feels like out of force of that contract, like I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong, but that Atlanta has to keep him just to let Penix kind of heal. Because even if Atlanta goes for a quarterback, you know, you're probably gonna trust. Um, oh my goodness, and it looks like a turnover for the Colts to Houston. Wow. Uh, but him going back to the Vikings, I mean, anything could happen with how bad the Vikings are. But I just think the Falcons keep him because he knows the whole system. He knows the whole offense system. It's hard to teach somebody the whole system before a season. And I would trust somebody who knows the system, even with how bad Cousins is. You would trust somebody who knows the system just to kind of get you through until Penix comes back. That's how I kind of see it. If Atlanta wins today, they don't go to the playoffs. No. So if you check the poll out, if the Falcons win, the Panthers go to the playoffs. And if the Saints win or there is a tie, then the Bucks go to the playoffs. And so a lot of people, it looks like, want the Panthers to make the playoffs just to see what the Panthers could do or if Bryce Young could do anything or whatnot. But all right, but the fumble stands against Riley Leonard and the Colts, so the Houston Texans will be taking over in their own in the red zone. So great opportunity for the Texans to come up with more points. They just um they just you know scored some points and are now in a position on first and goal on like the 2-yard line to score again. And now we got CJ Stroud keeping it himself, first down, getting the touchdown. CJ Stroud with the touchdown. All right. Okay. Guys, drop any questions in chat. BRB, bathroom break. BRB, bathroom break. Drop any question, comments in chat. am back. All right. I am back. Okay. So, I think there was a crazy play that happened. I don't know if it was an interception or a fumble, but touchdown, I believe, for Jacksonville. Touchdown for Jacksonville. All right. And then I got to update the Falcons score because they kicked a field goal. So, field goal by the Falcons, putting them up 10-0. All right. Looks like the Panthers are going to the playoffs. The Panthers are going to the playoffs. If these Falcons win, are these Falcons going to win? We shall see. All right. Update score. Update the score. All right. Give me a second, guys. 1 second. 1 second. Here we go. Here we go. Score. Update. There we go. All right. Ryan says, will you continue to go live for the playoff games? Really appreciate the time and effort. Of course. Of course. Much appreciated to you too. Yeah, so I don't I'm open for feedback too. I'm open for feedback too, but you know, uh my thought on this is going to I don't think I'm gonna stream every game, right? Because they're all solo games. So like, like that'd be like 20 hours of football, right? um so uh I think I might schedule one game a day for Saturday and Sunday because I think they're or maybe one game Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We'll see how it goes. But I think one game Saturday, one game Sunday. Um and I'll try to post the times early, but my thought would be um to do day well, like kind of like daily fantasy, right? And choose one position for each team or one player per position for each team, right? So let's say uh it was, Buffalo versus New England, right? So you got Josh Allen versus Drake May, you put Travian, whatever, and then choose one over under for each position. So at least there's something to root for on both sides. And I'll make those kind of choices based on how I feel the game flow is going to be, off the top of my head, right? Uh, Buffalo's, if we look at these defenses, right? Buffalo's one of the, you know, most lopsided teams in sense of like good for rushing. So I might pick, Ramondre Stevenson for more than half a touchdown if that was the over under. Stuff like that. And then pick a winner of the game or something like that. And stream some of these playoff games. Because I do want to stream some playoff games, just like not all, because it would be easier if they overlapped, a little bit. Like if on Sunday they were offset by like an hour and a half or something, then maybe I'd watch two. But like to watch all three games in a row or whatever it is on Sunday, that's a lot. So yes, definitely gonna stream. Um, let me see what's time because I'm not sure if the time slots are set yet. Let me double check. Okay. Okay, they are set. So it's 2:30 and 6 on Saturday. And then 11, 2:30 okay, so they're later. Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do like the first game on Sunday, maybe half the second game or something like that. And then either the Monday night game or the Saturday earlier game. The, let me put some thought into this, unless you have some ideas as well. I'm open for ideas as well. But yes, I do want to stream some games. I'm not sure. Let me think. How would I do this? I'll probably pick the teams that I want to see, that I want to see play and win, right? So what we were talking about. So like let's say I choose wait. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do, cuz like they're the teams that I want to see play. Let me see. Let me type this out. I want to see play would be the Rams, Jags, um maybe and okay. So like something like this, where if some of these games are positioned right, I want to pick these, but I think the two most that I want to see play are the Rams and the Jags, because I feel like those are my my teams that I believe have the best chance to make exciting football games. Isn't that weird? Because the Raiders are out. I just choose based on who I think would be the most exciting players to watch or exciting teams to watch. Just because like I know there could be good football in a, you know, 10 to 14 game or a 14 to 17 game. Like I get it. Some people like to watch, only 20 points being scored in a game. Kind of like last night was Seahawks versus SF. Some people like that type of game. Personally, I prefer the, 28 to 31 type of game. So that's what I'm picking. Sounds good. All right. I'll see you then, Ryan. Much love. I will for sure see you there too. So the Saints are on second and goal on the 1.5 yard line, and it looks like they are short. Looks like they are short. Um, and right now, Parker Washington, big 28-yard reception. So let's see. We got third and goal here. Half-yard line. Third and goal. Half-yard line. It would be fake. And then Tyler Show rolling. Can he beat his man? He did. And a touchdown. Let's go. Let's go. Makes the game interesting. All right. All right. Uh, the only reason I want Tyler Show to do well is I like how well he's playing. I just want him to win Rookie of the Year at this point. Like it no one expected that, right? No one expected Tyler Show to be good. Like all the other people, being mentioned, right? Like you would have expected them to potentially be there. Uh, RJ Harvey being high draft capital and like Tedero McMillan, right? But then you got Tyler Shuck coming off the bench and then just wins. He just wins, man. that that is awesome to me. That is awesome to me. Um so Caleb Williams needs 270 passing yards versus the Lion to become first Bears quarterback to throw 4,000 yards. Yes. Yes, yes, that is true. Um I think there's like two things stats going on or something like that. Like he can become the most yards or something with like 100. I forget the numbers, and then over 4,000 for 270 or something like that. Jay Cutler, man, I haven't heard that name in forever. You know, I think uh I think why is because, back then the run percentage was a higher overall in the football league, right? Which more rushing yards and more attempts there, but also less possessions over the course of a season, right? Um, so uh I understand. I feel you though. Like it's like almost like wow, he didn't he didn't get there, but also there's one less game too back then, I believe, right? Um, because they added the 17th game within the past like 7 years. I forget how many years it's been. So technically it's a little bit easier now to make that with one more game. Um, but yeah, that's I saw that stat too. Um, I saw that stat too. You know, I did some major soul searching reflection after this season because I went back and looked and like everybody so like when you make your draft at the beginning of the year, you have your team, right? You have your team. And you may make some ad drops, right? Over the course of the year based on things. And everybody that I dropped was like as soon as I drop them, they become like, best players. Like after the first week, I think I had like the Kittle got injured, right? So I need to pick somebody up. So Tyrone Tracy took the most snaps, so I dropped Cam Scattaboo. It was between him and Zach Charbonnet, and I dropped him there. Then, somebody else on my team got injured. I think it was like Bucky Irving. So I had like three quarterbacks at the time or something. And so I dropped Trevor Lawrence, who ended up winning people playoffs. Cam Scattaboo ended up, after I dropped him, winning people every single week for like the next 5 weeks. dropped, um, um, dropped, who else did I drop? Dropped, well, I dropped Caleb Williams too eventually, who also ends up like winning people fantasy playoffs. Um, and then what was the last one? There's another big one. Zach Charbonnet, like, ends up getting like 12 rushing touchdowns on the season, like one of the best like RB2s. And it's like I would have been better keeping Zach Charbonnet and dropping Bucky Irving. Like, just listen to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could I have made that decision in week 5 or 6 or whatever it was? Like, as soon as Bucky Irving gets hurt, like you might as well have dropped him. Like that's like that's how basically. I mean, he had like 1 or 2 good games when he came back, right? But he basically lost me the playoffs. Um, and then uh so yeah, I forget there's like one more or something, but it was tough. Who's the coach of the year, Ben Johnson or Sean Payton? I think I have to take either Ben Johnson or you can honestly take the Jags coach too. The only reason I don't take Sean Payton, right, is because Sean Payton, like you look at last year and you you're taking a playoff team and then making them a better playoff team, right? So like your system is kind of intact and then you made it better. And then you look at let's see, 2024 Bears, right? 2024 Bears um let's see. 2024 NFL standings. So last year's NFL standings. All right. You had the Jaguars at 4-13. And now they're exactly flipped. Right. They're pretty much exactly flipped now. You look at the Bears 5-12, and they're basically exactly flipped, right? So that's why I look at them and I'm like, I feel like one of those guys has to win Coach of the Year. The other argument would be the Patriots, 4-13, right? Exactly flipped. So like I feel like those guys have to be considered for Coach of the Year. Vrabel, you know, all kind of being first year coaches. Um, and then I feel like Sean Payton's in that. Is it what's his name? D'Amico Ryan category, the Houston coach, where it's like you took a playoff team and then you made them a step better. So while I do respect both the situations of the Broncos and the Texans, I feel like when you take a team with 4 or 5 wins, you're expected as a new coach in your first year to maybe take them to 500, right? But then to take them to the like number 2 seed in the conference or the number 3, that's amazing to me. That is amazing. So that's why I would give it to either the Jags coach or Ben Johnson, um, because you basically took these teams that you expected to not make playoffs or barely have a chance of making playoffs to like one of the best teams in the league. All right. So the Jaguars looks like they scored again. I don't know how they scored, but it looks like they scored again. So touchdown there. You got the Colts marching it to midfield with Josh Downs. Texans are up 20-10. Um, you got the Saints after that Tyler Shuck touchdown. Looking to continue a drive, but right now they got a challenge flag on the field, so we'll see what ends up happening outside of that challenge. Um, we got that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Nothing else happened or happening. But all right, the Saints have brought it back after going down 2 possessions, brought it back with the touchdown, and are looking to make something happen again before the end of the half. So we'll see what they do here. All right, let me update the score. All right, score's updated. Let me update Tyler. Let's see. Burrow looks like threw a touchdown to T. Higgins. Flag comes out. Probably going to be against the defense. But we will see what this. Yep, touchdown. Touchdown for T. Higgins. So T. Higgins with the touchdown. All right. All right. Let's see. What else do we got going on? Oh, yeah. We were looking at the stats of Tyler. All right. Tyler Shuck. Ryan says, what are the hot takes of the fantasy football season? What do you feel were your misses this year? I feel like my misses were touchdown for the Giants. Touchdown for the Giants. Wow. Touchdown for the Giants going up against the Cowboys. Who do I feel like were the misses this year? Well, I think I'll divide that into two sections, okay? One, let's start with the personal level rather than the overall NFL level. So on the personal level, like there's no way I could have predicted this, right? But I did have a lot of injuries on my team. So I guess, those are misses because uh, you know, they performance wise didn't make it to where they are. But in terms of like as well on my team and what I was wrong about, I did not think that Bucky Irving would have the role that he has right now because he's basically a between the 20s runner. 20 carries in the game, but only between the 20s, And what that whole Tampa Bay offense turned out to be was nowhere close to what I would have expected it to be, you know? So I would say Bucky Irving was a big miss for me. Not only because he got injured, but then like what that whole offense shook out to be. Like next year, like what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do the same thing? Run Bucky between the 20s, put Sean, Tucker in on the goal lines, and then flip Rashad right? What like there's no way I could have projected that, and I would not have projected how poorly Baker is throwing the football too. That how that whole offense is moving. So that was a huge miss. Um, uh, for me was that miss on Bucky Irving. Um, I would say, uh, you know, when you look on paper at the end of the year, Jamar Gibbs looks just a step off of Bijan Robinson and Christian McCaffrey. Like he looks like he belonged in that same tier in class, but he's like similar concept here, right? Is that Detroit it was like everything or nothing for Detroit, right? Either 35 points in a game or 10 points in a game. And I I projected a more consistent offense for the Lions. I knew they were down defensive line or offensive linemen, right? I knew the system was going to be without Ben Johnson, but I did not project them to be a 500 team um and like such big swings, you know, like they had. I projected, even though Gibbs was going to split with Montgomery and that was known, I did project the game scripts to be more like last year where it was competitive. But most field goal is good for Jacksonville. But most of the Lions game, they're actually playing from behind, right? Towards the end of the season. So I think that was kind of a miss, I would say, for me too, was both of those teams, Detroit and the Bucks, I projected their offenses to be a lot better so that all those players maintained more value. But like honestly, like I feel like if you had one of your star players was from the Bucks or like even if it was Amon-Ra, right? Gibbs, Bucky, Mike Evans, you know, if you had any of these guys as like your starters from your first 5 rounds, I don't think you won the the league or even probably made it to the finals, right? So those were some big misses. Personally on the team, I mean, I can't predict the injuries, right? Odunze's injury, Drake London's injury. Like I said, like there's so many injuries for me this year. So George Kittle's injury, like I think That's how I would sum up my misses personally on my team. Um, I don't know how I'd have to do a little more reflection to say what would I do anything differently on the draft. I think one thing I would be more conscious of on the draft is like know which player on the team like let's say there's two potential good players, right? And so for uh some examples could be, right, like uh when you have a good wide receiver and a good running back, you know, if they're not in that number one tier, like it's not Puka and Kyron, or it's not, you know, like that caliber, to know which guy you want to take, right? So, like for Seattle, you know, when the season first started, JSN and Kenneth Walker, right there, right top, or you know, kind of in the middle of the draft, DK Metcalf and Jalen Warren, right? Like, um, know who you prefer, because if you end up with both, that's going to be tough for you to play week to week. Again, unless it's Puka and Kyron, you know, then you're okay rolling them out, right, every week. Um, but if you were to have drafted some of those other guys, obviously you're going to play JSN every week. But it's like, now, what do you want to do with Kenneth Walker? You know, do you want to be playing him? So that, I think that was like I think that's something I'm going to look at next year, or think about a little more strongly, rather than be like, I am okay drafting both JSN and Kenneth Walker. You know, like, okay, am I really going to be okay playing that the whole year if it's Seattle's offense? That's I think of learning lessons. Um, Patience. You drop some players as well, and they went off later for Fannin. Yeah. Like that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Fannin, right? Should football transition back to grass fields? Turf's been brutal for players. That is, to me, that's a double-edged sword, right? Because I think you could argue injuries similarly on grass during certain times of the season as well, because it tears up. All right. So players have complained about that too. I do believe in terms of turf, it does matter what kind of turf it is, because I feel like, I forgot which ones they say, but I feel like they say, the players themselves say, like some of the turf is worse than the others. So I don't know what the exact science behind that is, but the players say that. Overall, what do I think? So the game's kind of evolving too, right? It's kind of evolving in the sense where there are more downfield plays happening, right? If you go back 30 years or whatever it is, maybe even more, the game was a lot different, where everything was more run focused, you know, manageable passing. So like the type of injuries are different, right? Because everybody is playing a more control, I don't want to say controlled game, but you know, uh the speeds aren't getting as high, and the tackles are fierce, but like it's happening like within a 5 yard box, right? But where these guys are getting severely more injured is on the wide receivers and downfield side, you know, because like there's more space now when you're passing the ball or you're opening up the field, that these players are getting to higher speeds. Therefore, when the crashes are happening, it's higher risk of injury. And then on the quarterback side, because these guys are getting more mobile, right? Before, if the pocket collapsed or the quarterback got hit, yes, they got hit and they got crunched, but they were more stationary and like ready to take the hit. Versus you look at these guys now who are getting injured with like turf toe, right? Or a dislocated knee or a torn ACL, is because they're rolling out of the pocket, and now they're moving faster, and they have these huge five, you know, I'm exaggerating, right? But 400-pound line defensive linemen following them. And so there's a lot more momentum happening. So I feel like the injuries are getting more aggressive and severe. The concussions are getting, you know, bigger. the knee injuries are going from strains to tears because the game is becoming more high impact, right? Explosive plays, right? You look at the number of 20-yard plays happening on a year-to-year basis, and it's like it's going up, right? Or I don't know which way the camera's facing, but it's going up year over year, right? In terms of, and maybe not year over year, but if you take like 3-year chunks, like there's more points being scored, more downfield plays, which means more explosive plays. So turf is playing, like turf allows these plays to happen, but then it also creates injuries. So it's like, where's the culture, I feel like, of the game, and like what direction are they moving in? And it feels like just uh like how the NBA encouraged more scoring. There is like more high explosive plays being encouraged in the NFL as well, not just by the rules but like culturally. So I get what you're saying, but I feel like it is headed in that turf direction just cuz like that's kind of what people and the NFL are wanting to see. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if you disagree on that or what you uh, feel about grass fields. I feel like I feel like the general transition is moving in that direction for higher powered offenses and things like that. But that was a really good question. Um, to get back to your other question, let me see in terms of players of the overall level, if I feel like I'm what the biggest misses were in terms of like the league, right? Not just myself, um, but the league. You know, I think I think the no nobody would have nobody projected let's say uh man, let me pull this up. Hold on. Let me not just guess. Let me just not just guess. Um, I don't think. I don't think. I. I don't think some of these breakouts. I don't think were projected overall in the league. Um, how it kind of turned out. So what I mean by that is like I don't know if you would have projected Miami's offense to run the way it did, you know, in terms of Devon Achane literally being like one of the 4 best running backs on the season, and then Miami winning the way they did at the end with the style of football they were playing. Like I feel like in the beginning of the season, they would have projected a little more balanced of an offense there. Um, Obviously you can't predict Tyreek Hill getting injured, but even when he was injured, you know, it's not like the passing game. It was almost like, you know, they leaned heavier into the running game. Um, I feel like Javonte Williams was a crazy surprise. Obviously until he got hurt, right? At the end. Um, and how good that Dallas offense was. I feel like they projected it to we all projected it to be good, but we projected, you know, a balanced offense and then CeeDee Lamb being the guy. But it was like George Pickens was the guy, right? And CeeDee Lamb got hurt. Um, and the running game was decent. Um, what else? What else? You said you also wonder what all the players are drinking, eating pre and post game. Lots of shakes out there. The body's the temple, so if we don't fuel it properly could lead to injuries. Ha! Go tell that to DK Metcalf and Marshawn Lynch, who like eat candy uh, as their main substance, being as buff and crazy as they are. Can you imagine if Marshawn Lynch, you know, and DK Metcalf ate like like you said with their body being a temple, like how fit they would be and how long their careers would be. Uh, because that's true. I you know in so like you look at like LeBron James, right? And even though he's definitely on the decline, he put what it was that like article he puts like $3 million into his body every year, cryotherapy, best there, all that kind of stuff, right? And like you said, it's like the body's a temple. You look at the guys who had the longest careers, Tom Brady and stuff. They took care of their body too, right? Um, and so you know, I kind of agree. I kind of agree on that level of football where it's like, you know, your league, if you don't make playoffs, is like 4 months essentially, right? Like 4 or 5 months. So like next week, if you were playing for the Raiders or whatever, it's like, you know, when how long are you going to be in football shape? And I feel like that mental component of football is a little bit harder than the other sports because the league is so small. There's so much off-season time, and these guys make copious amounts of money. And then now they have all this time where they're basically left to their own devices, unless they're Tom Brady. Are you going to train all year, right? And then like all of a sudden, training camp is about to come around, and these guys have to get back in shape. So I agree with you there that it's like, you know, I feel like when you look at the best players, I feel like for the whole year they're trying to maintain their body and things like that. But then, you come to some of these guys who come out of college, maybe in the first or second, third year, and maybe they're not getting that much playing time or they don't really care because they got the bag. Huge example for me is Brandon Ayuk. Like, what happened to this guy? You know, he comes out 1,000 yard seasons. 8 touchdowns or whatever it was. Yes, he gets injured. Okay, gets a good contract, right? But then, like, how do you like lose all this motivation for football, all this weird stuff going on? Forget the whole losing $100 million contract, but it's like, did you never really like the game, and it was about the money, or once you got the money and then you had these off seasons and you see how much fun you could have, like that you lose interest in the game? Like, there's so many of those stories. But I agree. Like, if they want to be one of the greatest of all time, or you want to be a top echelon receiver or player on the year, you have to take your body serious all year round. Um, I agree. Houston Colts game is good. I know it's going crazy. It is definitely going crazy. Um, I really did not think the Colts were going to be able to score. You know, but Leonard's coming out and straight balling. Alec Pierce, I said this earlier. Alec Pierce is going to be the number one wide receiver drafted off that team next year. Alec Pierce is going to be, to me, uh, going to be the best receiver next year on that team. Um, oh, you saw the Skittles, right? Yes, exactly. Uh-oh. It looks like Cam Ward either like it wasn't his head, I guess, that got injured. It looks like his shoulder or his arm. He's in a sling. So it looks like he's shut down for the season. Um, but what other big misses do I feel like were on this year. Let's see. I think, well, again, you can't project injuries, right? But everybody projected probably the Commanders to make it to the playoffs again. Um, and Jaden Daniels, like can't predict injury, but that was probably not projected there. The Chiefs were probably not projected to suck as much as they did this year. Um, that was a big one. And then Justin Jefferson and the Vikings, that was a huge miss, right? Um, we all thought, oh, the Vikings, they're a system team. Doesn't matter who you throw in as quarterback, everybody's been able to succeed there. And that was completely wrong this year. That was way off. Way, way off base. So the Vikings, that was a big miss. Brian Thomas Jr., big miss. He was injured, but he played a lot of games too. Just nothing there. Um, let's see. And yeah, I think those were probably the biggest ones. Those are probably the biggest ones on the year. But let me know what you guys think in terms of what your biggest hits or misses um on the year was. But we got the second halves starting again. Do the Bears get their first 4,000-yard passer? Dude, Ryan asked the same exact or similar question. I feel like it all comes down to what Lions team is going to show up, right? Which Lions team is going to show up? Because if it was the Lions team from last week, no, right? They're not going to need to pass nothing. If you know, the Lions only get like 300 yards of offense and 2 touchdowns or a touchdown, no, because then it's just going to go to the run game. So I think this basically comes down to like, is Jared Goff going to be able to play well, right? Um, and what do I think? I do think the Lions are going to have something to fight for, right, and play for. So I want Caleb to get it, so I want to say yes, right? But to me, this all comes down to the first quarter and a half because I feel like the Lions are about ready to give up if Jared Goff goes, and throws an interception in the first quarter, right? Something like that happens, I feel like they're just going to be deflated and they're going to do the exact same thing they did last week. But, if on the first drive or first 2 drives, one of the first 2 drives, they come out and score a touchdown, right? The Lions, then I think the 4,000-yard thing will happen. But, I really think it all comes down to where's Jared Goff's head at? Where's the Lions' heart at? Because, I can just as easily see the Lions saying, screw it, score 30 and score 4 touchdowns in the game and, play really good football. Like you could see that. Or you could also see the exact same thing happening as last week where Jared Goff throws an interception real early and, they just look defeated the whole game and just keep making mistake after mistake. Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I want it to happen. So do I think so? Uh I want it to happen, but I would say I believe there's more of a chance of the Lions fumbling the bag rather than executing 4 touchdowns. But I want to see it. I do want to see it. Because I drafted Caleb as my number 1 quarterback. And like I just was saying earlier, I dropped him. And as soon as I dropped him in those last like 5 weeks, the past 5 weeks, he just goes nuts. you know? Um, so I did think he's a good quarterback. And I thought with Ben Johnson, the system would be good. So Lions are easier to beat in the pass, so I want it to happen. What I really want to happen is Miles Garrett. That's what I care about. Uh, uh, want to see. You know, um, he's got to do it. He doesn't have it right now, right? Hopefully he could do it. I want to see Miles Garrett get it. Um, that's what I'm hoping for. All right, they're showing the Vikings up 13-0 against the Bucks. Um, they're up. Vikings are up 13-0 against, or not the Bucks, sorry, the Packers. Um, we'll see. We will see. All right, and we got the Saints taking over on the third quarter, taking the first drive against the Falcons. So the Saints down 7-10 right now. If I look at, looks like 73% of people want the Falcons to win so that the Panthers can go to the playoffs. So the Saints have to be able to come back and at least tie it to get the Bucks to go to the playoffs. We'll see who goes. We'll see who goes. Uh, Tyler Tyler Shuck has one touchdown, rushing touchdown. All right, so let me update that. All right, Jacksonville is cruising right now. All right. So 152 yards for. So he has a lot of yards. 152 yards, one touchdown. All right. Let me update that. All right. Let's see. Where is this? Okay. All right. So midfield are the Saints and Tyler Shuck bring them to a victory and win the MVP, or not MVP, the Rookie of the Year. All right, and we got Jackson Dart throwing touchdowns. Tyrone Tracy for the touchdown. So the Giants score a touchdown there. Jackson Dart, touchdown. Jackson Dart for the touchdown. All right. Penalties everywhere in the Giants game. Awesome. Um and it's going to be third down for the Saints. So we'll see what they end up sorting out for the Giants and Cowboys. And right now, the touchdown to Tyrone Tracy, will it stand? Third down for the Saints. Third down and 13. And he gets sacked. So there goes the punt. It will be a punt back to the Falcons. All right. All right. All right. So touchdown stands for the Giants and personal foul on the defense of the Cowboys. So there is a player disqualified for Dallas. Okay, and then the Giants will go for 2 from the 1 yard line. Oh, wow. Riley Leonard rushing it in for a touchdown. First drive of the third quarter. There you go. Colts. There you go. Holy smokes. Touchdown for the Colts. Colts are now leading against Houston. Man, what it would have been if the Colts could have snuck in and make the playoffs, you know? Oh my goodness gracious. So touchdown for the Colts. It was another Alec Pierce big catch. Look at this guy, man. I promise you this guy's going to be the #1 drafted wide receiver off this team next year. Alec Pierce is going nuts this year to end the season. And Riley Leonard punched it in. So tie game 23-23. Colts and Houston with the extra point. The Colts take a 24-23 lead. Riley Leonard leading the Colts against Houston at this point in time. 24-23. They're showing the Bengals and they're showing Joe Burrow sliding. Joe Burrow running it himself, scrambling, getting close to a first down. They were trying to show how Myles Garrett almost got a sack there, but he did not. And Burrow and team are down 17-12. So down 5 points. There is no sacks yet by Myles Garrett. He's still 1 away from the record. So at this point, you almost feel like the lineman accidentally falls and lets Myles, Garrett get the sack. It's not like the Bengals have anything to win for. Even if they win, they're not making playoffs. So can we give Myles Garrett the sack record, please? Joe Burrow, maybe he'll return the favor to you next year. All right. And Burrow got sacked, but it was not Myles Garrett. So big third down. There's loss of 9 on second down. All right. So they're showing 2-point conversion was good for the Giants. Devin Singletary throwing the football. 24-10. All right. Nothing there on third down for the Bengals. So it'll be a fourth down. All right. Atlanta is up 10-7 against the Saints. And Kirk Cousins is going deep and hits Drake London for 37 yards. And he makes the catch. And Drake London making a nice catch there. All right. So the Falcons are on a 2nd and 9. Now, after Drake London catch, he's got 60 yards and a touchdown. Here comes the Falcons on the 33-yard line. 2nd and 9. Play is broken. Cousin throws it away. 3rd and 9 for the Falcons after the broken play. All right. So right now, you got, oh my goodness. So here we go. 3rd and 9 for the Falcons. And nothing there. All right. 4th down. So we'll be kicking a field goal. The Falcons will be kicking a field goal here, probably. All right. So the field goal here would put the Falcons up 7-13. So let's see how he does here. So this is a 50-yard attempt, 51-yard attempt for the Falcons. Kick is up. And kick is good. There is a flag, though, on the field. So we'll see what that says. Cole says, Baker watching this game shaking. Dude, I know. How, I don't even know how I would feel about that. Like, I cannot control my own destiny to make the playoffs. I have to root for one of my division rivals to win. It's like, how how do you swallow that? How do you feel about that? That's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. Probably more stressful than actually playing in the game. you know, it's probably more stressful for him than playing in the game yesterday. Okay. So essentially what they're saying is because Jacksonville's winning by so much right now, Houston is sitting CJ Stroud and might look at sitting their starters because since Jacksonville's winning by so much, Houston cannot move up in the standings anymore. So we'll see if Houston gives up this game at this point to rest their starters. Um, the Cowboys 10-24. All right. Cowboys playing the backups. Um, Cowboys playing the backups against the Giants. All right, 3rd and 13 for the Cowboys against the Giants. And a screen, nothing there. Okay. 4th down for the Cowboys. All right. So down 10-24, the Cowboys are kicking a field goal. So here it comes. Kick is off. Kick is up. Kick is no good. No good. All right. No good there. All right. So I have to update the score. Um, all right, let's do this. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. Where is this update? This update is over here. Falcons get in that field goal. Putting ball in the hands of the Saints here. All right, here come the Saints. Can they answer this field goal? Can they answer this field goal? Oh, Houston almost with another interception. Dropped interception off the hands of the defender. That sucks. That really sucks. All right. That really sucks. This Sunday night football game's crazy tonight. I know another person in our community named Ryan's is a Ravens fan, so he's got to play to get in. It's so crazy. I mean, it is totally possible that the Steelers just lost this out and everybody's going to blame DK Metcalf for getting suspended. Um so I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but just like how this Atlanta Saints game matters, that Steelers Ravens game is the whole thing as well. Winner take all. Yep. Yep. It is true. And then our playoff teams are all decided. They're all decided. So we shall see. Okay. So they got third down, do the Saints. 3rd and 10 at midfield. 3rd and 10. They're down 7-13. And so they get it to Taysom Hill, who gets it to about 4th and 3. We'll see what they decide. So Trevor Lawrence and team against the Colts marching the football again. Brian Thomas Jr. gets a catch. 4th and 4 are the Saints across midfield, and they got the offense still on the field. Let's see if they're just trying to draw them off sides or if they're actually going to take the snap. Empty backfield. They took the snap on 4th and 4, rolling to his left and firing. He's got, looks like Juwan Johnson for a first down. And Wow. Just throws it over the cornerback. And Johnson toe taps inbounds. First down. First down. Juwan Johnson with 3 catches and 61 yards. Without Chris Olave, he's probably the favorite option right now. All right. Handoff and gain of about 2 or 3. And they're showing the start of the 4th quarter from Minnesota. And Justin Jefferson finally having a decent game on the last game of the season. 8 catches and 100 yards for Jefferson. Too little, too late, but at least he gets 1,000 yards on the season. All right, so 2nd and 8 for the Saints and another run play. Maybe 3rd down and 5-ish, 3rd down and 4. Yeah, 3rd down and 4 for the Saints. So the Saints are down 7-13. Yes, I got the score updated. So here they go. Almost inside the red zone. 3rd and 4 from the 24. 3rd and 4 from the 24. Another handoff. Nothing there. It's going to be about 3rd and 3. Or 4th and 3. Sorry. And Davis Mills quarterbacking for the Houston Texans. And Davis Mills gets a first down on his own feet. All right, 4th and 3 are the Saints. They have the offense on the field still. 4 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. They don't have to go for this here. They could take the field goal. Shotgun formation. Snap is taken. Passes off. Wide open man. Taysom Hill gets the first down. First down and more. It's going to be 1st and goal from about the 10. So big play there. They had Taysom Hill in motion, and it looks like they're playing some type of like man zone. And Taysom Hill just breaks free in the confusion. All right, Tyler Shough looking, throwing away on 1st and goal. All right. Houston is marching it down the field with their backups against the Colts. All right, here we go. 2nd and goal for the Saints. This is a huge play here. Remember, whoever wins this game is going to influence who goes to the playoffs between the Panthers and Tampa Bay. So Saints, 2nd and goal here. Takes the snap, handoff, runs up the middle. There's some space. Can he get there? Does he get there? Just short. They're going to mark him a yard short. It was Estime running up the middle, and he got real close to crossing that touchdown plane, but officials mark him short on 3rd and goal, half a yard short. So here they go. They go quick. They give it right back to him, and they're stopped. And he's stopped. So it's 4th and goal now. Man, I don't know about that one. All right. So they're short. 4th and goal here are the Saints. 4th and goal. Shotgun formation. Man in motion. Johnson in motion. Takes the snap. Fakes the handoff. Dropping back. Breaks free from the sack. And he finds his man. But there is a flag. There is a flag in the end zone. What are they going to call? Offensive pass interference wipes off the touchdown. And now they're going to have to kick a field goal. Oh, man. Oh, man. And he throws it. Oh, man. They have to back up. That was a bad play. Dante Pettis runs into a defender in the end zone. They call offensive pass interference. And now they're bringing out the field goal team are the Saints. Dang. Wow. Darn. So here comes the field goal attempt on 4th and goal from the 11-yard line. Kick is up. Kick is good. So Saints are down 10-13 instead of a touchdown. They come away with the field goal. Field goal attempt is happening for the Texans. Field goal is up. Field goal is good. Texans take a 26-24 lead with their backups. They got the Vikings on the goal line, and JJ McCarthy is stacked. Oh no, it's not McCarthy, it's Brosmer, sorry. Wow, they just ruled it a fumble? Oh no. Oh my. This is crazy. So what? It was almost like a butt fumble by Mark Sanchez, but not as bad by Brosmer. So basically, he takes the snap, and one of his linemen ends up basically tripping him as he's running away. And Brosmer thinks, he gets tackled. So he falls on the ground. He stands back up. And then the Green Bay defenders come and tackle him over, fumbling the football. And they end up giving it to the Packers as of right now, calling it a fumble. Oh, man. That sucks. All right, Saints 10, Falcons 13. Oh, my goodness. All right. So Tyler Shuck has 200 yards. That's pretty good. That is pretty darn good. 200 yards and a rushing touchdown for Tyler Shuck. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I don't even know if he has to win this game anymore. That stat line is already pretty good for this game. So we'll see. He should be able to get maybe 50 more yards. Maybe he'll make it 250 and 2 touchdowns, and that for sure would lock it away for him. That for sure would lock it away. Gotta catch that. Yeah. Yep. We'll see what this last quarter of football brings us. Here comes nothing there for the Cowboys on first down. Why are the Giants trying so hard? Dude, I don't know. I feel like these past couple weeks they something's turned on in them. The only thing I could think of is that if their coach is about to be fired, he's trying to rally the troops and they end up wanting to play hard for their coach type of thing. That's the only thing I could look at or think of. But yeah, when they played the Raiders, I thought it would be a very close game. You know, both teams trying to make the other team win, but the Giants came out to win. You know, so that was interesting. Um, that was interesting. I don't know. I feel like at this point they're just playing for pride almost. All right, so we got the Cowboys on the goal line now with the first and goal opportunity against the Giants after a pass interference call against the Giants. So first and goal from the 4-yard line. Here comes the Cowboys. And on a quarterback keep, he's out of bounds, maybe a yard short. So Cowboys, second and goal, about the 1-yard line. All right. And you got the Bengals down 12-17 against the Browns. 8 minutes left. They're driving the ball against the Browns. So let's see if they could take the lead here as well. And then you got the Falcons. Minute left in the third quarter. Almost at midfield, trying to put the Saints down 2 scores. All right, so you got first down catch from Drake London on 1st and 10. Um, all right. So from the 38 across midfield are the Falcons up 10-13. Handoff to Tyler Algier, tackle for a loss of about 3 or 4. All right. And they're showing Josh Downs catching a 20-yard pass and moving the ball against the Texans across midfield. Indianapolis and Houston have gone back and forth in this game. Houston's up 26-24 right now. 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and Riley Leonard is playing a really good game of football, if I'm being honest. We're showing Chase Brown gashing the Browns play after play. Jonathan Taylor is having a really bad game. 9 rushing attempts, 13 yards. All right, so here come the Colts, 36-yard line across midfield. 3rd and 7. And setting up a screen. And Abdullah gets the first down. Brings it down close to the 20. They're almost in the red zone. To gain about 15 maybe for Abdullah. And we'll see if the Colts can make a touchdown here, but even a field goal gives them the lead, so they're just looking to make sure they don't turn the ball over here. 21-yard line. Handoff, gain of about 2. 3rd and 3 for Joe Burrow. And first down on 3rd and 3 for the Bengals. All right, 15 minutes left. Fourth quarter starts, and Dallas scores the touchdown. Backup running back runs it in. Riley Leonard in play action, finding his man on 2nd and 9, gain of about 5. First and 10 opportunity for the Bengals across midfield. And Burrow gets sacked by Myles Garrett. He gets the record. He gets the record. Let's go. Celebrations, guys. Wow, what an achievement. What an achievement. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, guys. You got to be happy for him, right? Celebrations. Joe Burrow, good job giving it to Myles Garrett. Let's go. Celebrations. Much love, Myles Garrett. Much deserved season, my man. Much deserved season. The whole team is happy for him. I mean, he did it. Wow. He set the sack record this year. Let's go, Garrett. You did it, bro. Dude. 23 sacks in a season. Single season records passing TJ Watt. Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. And Chase Brown trying to make a move, can't do it. It's going to be 3rd and 16. Wow. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, you did it, bro. You did it. Cole says, let's go. I agree, bro. Let's go. He's got it. And Burrow running around in the backfield like a maniac, trying to make something happen, throwing the football. Nothing there. Looking for Jamar Chase. 3rd and 15, nothing there. All right. History has been made. History has been made. Oh wait, what happened? How is this the wrong one? What is going on? All right. So Falcons are almost in the red zone. Okay. So it'll be 3rd down for the Falcons. And right now it's 1st and goal for the Colts. Nothing there for the Colts. Ryan says, congrats to Miles. I know. Much celebrations to Mr. Garrett for setting a record this season. That's pretty crazy. All right, 3rd and 6 for Atlanta. Up 13-10 here. Up 13-10. And who had the previous record? Yeah, it was Watt with somebody else. Who was the other one? Oh, Strahan, Michael Strahan. Yeah, Michael Strahan also had the record. Myles Garrett just broke it though. So they both Watt and Miles Strahan had 22 and a half, and then Garrett got 23 this season. All right. So 3rd and goal here for the Colts. 6-yard line. Snap is off. Pass is fired. Nothing there. So it's gonna be and he gets a flag. Alec Pierce convinced the ref, I think, that he was pushed out of bounds in the end zone. So they may get a 1st and goal on the 1. Dang, Alec Pierce almost had 3 touchdowns today. Wow. All right. 2nd and 10 for the Falcons here in the red zone. So They are on the 17-yard line, are the Falcons. 2nd and 10. Taking the snap. Cousins dropping back. And he's sacked. Oh, so they called a personal foul on Alec Pierce for making contact with the ref. And they basically said, you cannot do that. So Alec Pierce, because he bumped into the ref when he was complaining, the ref pulled the flag and called a foul on Alec Pierce. Oh wow. Wow. 3rd and 11 for Kirk Cousins, throwing for Drake May. Oh, Drake London almost caught, but no. Not there. Saints taking over. Ryan says, you think Crosby may go for it next year? He seems so determined to finish strong. We shall see where he ends up next year, man. It does not look like he's staying with the Raiders. If we're talking about Max Crosby here. um yeah. I don't know if he's staying. I doubt it. But yes, he did look like he wanted to play this last games, and got real mad when they said no. So we'll see where he ends up. All right, snap is off for Falcons. Kick is good. So it is now a touchdown score game, not just a field goal. All right. Okay, updating the score. All right. Bayshaw Tootin with the touchdown. All right. Jags with another touchdown. Bayshaw Tootin. Um, is Alec Pierce is in a contract year, so maybe he does not return to the Colts. So I could be wrong on that, guys, because I said he'd be the best wide receiver on that team. But if he's not on the team, he can't be the best wide receiver on that team. I did not realize it was a contract year for him. I forgot it's a contract year. All right, so Colts are up 27-26 against Houston. Houston has their backups in, but no CJ Stroud. But Houston is down 26-27. End of the third quarter, trying to regain the lead against the Colts after the Colts just kicked a field goal to take the lead. And the Packers still have 0 points against the Vikings. Vikings kick a field goal, and it is good. Vikings are up 16-0. 4 minutes left in that game. All right. And so last play of the third quarter for the Houston Texans, play action. Mills trying to set up a screen, nothing there. For Christian Kirk, and nothing is there. Okay. And it looks like the Bengals are in their final drive of the game, down 12-17. Don't forget, Cleveland has 2 defensive touchdowns, and Cleveland, Myles Garrett set the sack record today. And the Saints have 10 minutes left in the game. They are down 10-16. They need a touchdown to take the lead or 2 field goals. So right now, 10 minutes, 38 seconds left for the Saints. Taking over on the 25-yard line. Need to take it a good distance of the field. And incomplete on 1st and 10. All right. Let's take a quick break for bathroom real quick. Quick bathroom break. BRB, drop any questions or comments in chat. Okay, back now. Okay, so all right. They are showing the Packers who are doing absolutely nothing. All right. All right. So they're showing the Vikings and how the safety, Harrison Smith, they're taking a second um, to honor him, to bring him out. They're saying this might be his last game. Um, so it's looking like he might retire after this season. So they call a timeout and bring him out before the game ends. So Harrison Smith, who's played in the league for like, I don't know, he's played in the league basically like what, 15 years or something, like some crazy number like that. Um, all right. Colts are up 27-26. And the Colts have the football to start the fourth quarter. All right. So the Colts are showing Phillip Rivers. Oh my goodness. How what what a time where he comes back and who did anybody actually think he would throw touchdowns? You know, throwing some touchdowns, Phillip Rivers, playing a couple games. Um that was really cool to see. That was really cool to see. Unfortunately, the Colts could not make the playoffs, but that was really cool to see him come back for a few games. Um, so Colts up 1 point there. They're showing, oh, the Falcons have the ball again, so the Saints must have had to punt. Um, Kirk Cousins finding Kyle Pitts, getting the first down and more. All right. So the Falcons up 16-10. First down, about 8 minutes left in the game. So Saints definitely need to stop them soon. No more points can be scored. They cannot afford to give up a field goal. So there's a big sack, big sack. Will be a long third down, so the Saints should be able to take over as long as they hold down this third down. All right. All right. So 2nd and 18 will be the Falcons. Saints just have to hold them here on that good sack. Cousins dropping back. Screens being set up for Bijan. Nothing to go. Another loss. It'll be like 3rd and 21 or something like that. Riley Leonard on 3rd and 6, and he throws an interception. Interception is thrown, and the Texans might be able to win this after that bad play. Going to be a huge third down here for the Saints versus the Falcons. 3rd and 23. You just take away Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and force Pitts or somebody to make a move. All right, nothing there on 3rd and 23. All right, here comes the Saints. All right. And now they're showing the Cowboys throwing an interception. So the Giants are probably gonna win this one. And they're showing the Bengals marching towards the red zone down 12-17, needing a touchdown, and Jamar Chase breaking free, taking it down to the 4-yard line. So 1st and goal for the Bengals against the Browns. And he hits Chase for a touchdown. So Jamar Chase ends the season on a touchdown, which puts Cincinnati up. So Jamar Chase with the touchdown. All right. So It looks like the Texans are marching it down. 4th down, it'll be a field goal. So Texans down 26-27 could go up here with the field goal. The Bengals are up 18-17 and they're going for 2 points. So here it goes. Nothing there. So Bengals are up 18-17. Field goal is good for Houston. They go up 29-27. First and goal opportunity for the Giants, 27-17. Why is Stroud not playing? So what needed to happen for Houston in order for them to move up in rankings is that Jacksonville would had to have lost. And since Jacksonville was winning by like 30 points, there was no way for Houston to move up in the rankings, right? So they decided to sit their starters like CJ Stroud. Um, Technically, they could move down, I believe, in rankings, but it would require like the Chargers to win or something like that. And since the Chargers are sitting uh Herbert, I believe their place is pretty much solidified since Jacksonville is not going to lose. I hope that makes sense. I think that's right. You can fact check me, but I think that's the reason. Um, but right now we had it looks like a touchdown for the Giants with Singletary getting a touchdown, and then to end the game the Packers get a field goal, so they scored 3 whole points in the game. um, so it the Giants scoring 34 points. They're gonna win. All right. Everybody wants to see the pressure in this game. With 6 minutes left, Atlanta is up 16-10. And so the Falcons are up 16-10. So the Panthers right now are going to the playoffs. But the Saints have the football, all 3 timeouts left. So 2nd and 5 from the 30-yard line. Come the Saints, hole up the middle with Estime, who gets a first down. So they'll be near the 40-yard line on 1st and 10 against the Falcons. 5.5 minutes left. They cannot settle for a field goal. They have to go for a touchdown. So continuing the running game with Estime, and they get another 8 or 9 on 1st down. So all 3 run plays to start the game, all positive yards, big chunk plays. So 2nd and 1 here for the Saints. Able to run right now against these Falcons. We will see what they decide to do. 2nd and 1 here, shotgun formation. 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. Man in motion, fakes the handoff. Tyler Show running up the middle, all the space in the world. And he got all the way down to the red zone, the 22-yard line. Let's go. All right, this just made it super exciting. Just under 4.5 minutes left. A big hole opened up in the middle. Big hole opened up in the middle, and he took off running and gained like 25 yards. Brings him down to the 23-yard line. Handoff, Estime up the middle, gain of about 3. It'll be 2nd and 7 from about the 20-yard line. So the Saints are here in the red zone, right where they need to be. Just under 4 minutes to play. This is so exciting, so crazy. Imagine if you're Baker Mayfield right now. You are probably just sweating bullets. If you're Bryce Young, if you're these guys, you're just sweating bullets right now. Because this decides everything. 20-yard line, 2nd and 7. 10 seconds on the shot clock or play clock. Shotgun formation. Tyler Shuck taking the snap, lofting it, end zone, just outside the reach of Bell. It's going to be 3rd and 7. Ooh, that's crazy. So Shador Sanders, they're showing who's down 17-18 to the Bengals with 30 seconds left. Wow. Myles Garrett getting the sack record. All right, 3rd and 7 here for the Saints. And it's intercepted. It's intercepted. Oh my goodness. And that might just be the game right there. Atlanta intercepts Tyler Shuck in the red zone. 3 minutes left. Oh no, that just might have won it in Carolina. It looks like they're going to the playoffs. Oh wow. No way. Oh my goodness. That was crazy. What a read by the defender. Playing zone and then just cutting the route, undercutting the route and getting the pick. It can't end like that. Oh my goodness. What is going to happen here? All right, they have 3 timeouts though, so they have to somehow back them up or create a bad situation for the kick because a field goal would put them up by 9. So Jonathan Taylor gets a first down. Colts are down 27-29. Trying to win are the Colts one last game. The Bengals are up 18-17 against the Browns. 24 seconds left for the Browns. And the Browns are down 17-18. They need a field goal to win. 1 timeout the Browns have. 24 seconds left. And Algier, nothing there. It's going to be 3rd down for the Falcons. Sanders, 2nd down, floating it for the end zone. And no good. He had a step. Isaiah Bond, it looks like. Yeah. Isaiah Bond had a step on the guy, but just slightly mistimed or off thrown or something. But Isaiah Bond, just a step too late. And crazy games, right, Cole? Indeed. Indeed. All right, so 3rd and 8 for the Browns here. 36-yard line. They hand it off. Looks like they're going to settle for a field goal. Clock is going to wind down to 1 second, and they're going to kick a field goal. They're handing off to Tyler Algier. Saints use the last timeout. 2 minutes and 57 seconds left. Be 4th and 3. They'll be kicking a field goal. They're showing Riley Leonard on 3rd and 4, and he gets his first down on his legs. Okay, here comes the kick for the Browns to beat the Bengals off of 2 defensive touchdowns by the Browns and a sack record for Myles Garrett. This would be a sweet way to end the season for the Browns, making this kick right here. Good snap, good hold, and the kick is good. There is a flag. I think it's going to stand. I think the Colts, no, the Bengals are going to be called for leaping or something. And field goal is up for the Falcons. And the field goal is good for the Falcons. All right. So Cleveland wins. Cleveland wins. All right. Will the Browns keep their coach? I don't know. That's a good question. Um I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they're okay. They should be okay moving off, right? I don't feel like I don't um I don't know if there is a reason to keep him, right? Um so with the rumors, it's kind of like you know, so I don't know. I think they should move on though. What's up, Epic? Do you start Cook or Wright? You don't think Cook plays that much today? I think you can play Wright. Um, reason being is the only reason they would really look to play Cook was uh if he potentially had um the title, right? The rushing title, but because uh Taylor didn't go crazy, I don't think they'll do it cuz they don't really have that much to play for, right? Um and I probably Wright's going to play the whole game, right? So I am taking because Devon Achan's out, right? Um, he was doubtful. Yeah, so Devon Achan and Jalen Waddle are missing. So Wright's probably going to get a lot of usage. So I would go with that. It's a gamble to say if how much Cook is going to play. So I would go for the secured targets and snaps. And Miami's got nothing to lose, right? So I feel like they'll play their backups the whole game. Hopefully that was helpful. Epic Geek. Best of luck in week 18. Much love to you and your team. Happy New Year. Hopefully you're doing good in your league. Much celebrations. Wish you the best. Drop a like. If you can, let me know if you disagree or have any other questions. But best of luck in week 18 to you. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome, Epic. You are welcome. Well, guys, it looks like the Panthers are going to the playoffs with that field goal that the Falcons just kicked. The Saints would need an onside kick, and they would need a quick score here. So there's a lot to ask. It's still possible, but probably not. Probably not. So, well, the Panthers looking like they're going to go to the playoffs. The Panthers going to the playoffs. Hold on. All right. Okay. So 2-minute warning here for the Saints. All right. So the Colts are leading the Texans 30-29. Who would have thought 60 points would be scored in that game? That is crazy. And the Saints, 2 minutes left to score 9 points, a touchdown and a field goal. That's a little tough. That's a little tough. They're about midfield. They're on their own 46-yard line. So 2-minute warning coming out there. The Cowboys are pretty much done against the Giants. There's 2 minutes left in this game, but cannot really win this. So the Giants will win the last game of the season, and the Cowboys will lose this. Final 2 minutes. And 2nd and 26, they gain about 4 or something like that. It'll be 3rd down for the Giants. Nothing really important happening in that game. But this Texans-Colts game is actually really good. 2 minutes, 39 seconds left. Going back to the Texans right now. So they're going to need a field goal to take the lead. 2 minutes, 39 seconds left. All the timeouts are left for the Texans. So we will see. We will see what they end up doing, right? We will see what they end up doing. All right, here they go. 1st and 10, Davis Mills and Texans. Taking over from the 35-yard line. All 3 timeouts for both teams. Man in motion. Crowd the line, handoff, and he's got about 7 on the 1st down. All right. And the Saints are taking over on 2-minute drill. So the Saints dropping back. And he's got his man, Dante Pettis, inside about the 30-yard line, it looks like, for the Saints. So Saints taking the snap. Tyler Show looking, hits his man. Pettis gets another 1st down to about the 15-yard line, to the 16-yard line. Minute 27 left in the game. It's the 16-yard line, a minute 18 left. Takes the snap. Firing for the end zone. And he's got his man. And he's got a touchdown. No way. No way. What? Tyler throwing another touchdown, bro? MVP. MVP. Or not MVP, Rookie of the Year. What? Bro. That was crazy. Oh my God. That was crazy. All right. 1 minute and 11 seconds left. 2-point game. 2-point game. Please get the onside, says Cole. Oh my goodness. I know, dude. I know. What is going to happen here? Wait, I thought you wanted didn't you want the Panthers to make it? I thought you wanted the Panthers to make it. Because this, if I thought I could have sworn you said you wanted the Panthers to go. Maybe I'm wrong though. But right now it's looking like the Panthers are gonna go to the playoffs. But let's see if the Saints can make a magic happen with an onside kick. So onside kick has to be recovered by the Saints. And the Panthers can make the playoffs here. Oh, you're here, but for the chaos? Oh my God. Yes, I agree. Okay, I agree with you there. Um, we definitely want to see something crazy happen. All right. So let's see what happens. This is a hope and a prayer for the Bucks and the Saints. This is going to be a hope and a prayer for this onside kick. So let's see what happens here. Kick is off. And Kyle Pitts recovers it. So Atlanta winning this football game. All right. The Panthers are going to the playoffs. Yay. Panthers going to playoffs. Yay. This is the opportunity to fire Todd Bowles from Tampa. It was hard to fire him because he made playoffs every year, but this is the time to do it. Wow. So, North Carolina. The North Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are going to the playoffs. The Panthers are going to the playoffs. And it looks like the Texans are marching to field goal territory. All right. So the Falcons win and beat the Saints to allow Carolina to now go to the Carolina's going to the playoffs. Carolina's going to the playoffs. Probably the first time since Cam Newton, right? It's probably been a while since the Panthers made the playoffs. All right. So, minute 42 left. 1st and 10 for Houston. Looks like Houston should win this game. Inside field goal range. Just need to run the ball up the middle and then run it down and kick the field goal to win. So, let's see the Texans clean this up. The Texans. Here they go. Shotgun formation, handoff, and tackled on 2nd down. 3rd and 7. 3rd down and 7 for Houston. So Third down and 7 for Houston. Let's see what they end up doing. 25-yard line. Nothing there. All right. It's going to be fourth down. And it's going to be a kick by Fairbairn, one of the best kickers in the league. Let's see if he could put them up. And then it'll come down to a Hail Mary attempt by the Colts. So the Texans here will make a 12-5 season for the Texans. Wow, that's a great season. Great season, especially after how the Texans started. Texans started really poorly. Really poorly and turned it around. Awesome. All right. Here it goes. Here it goes. 43-yard attempt. Snap is off. Kick is good. Texans take the lead, 32-30. Rip says Texans are nice. They finished the season so good. So did the Jaguars. That's why I think they are your biggest competition. Dark horse to be worried about. All right. So it's just going to be a Hail Mary attempt basically here for the Colts. Drop any last minute comments or questions. We'll be probably wrapping it up after this stream. I don't think anything crazy is happening in the afternoon, right? Let me see. Broncos, Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins, Eagles, Commanders. I guess Lions, Bears is the only really big game, but that's only half side of the football that really cares about that. Yeah. Yep. You're just glad it's not the Chiefs this year. I know, right? That's what I was saying. So it's anybody's game. Almost anybody's game in the entire playoffs this year, you know? The Eagles had it locked up for a while as well, but I don't think they're locked this year for the playoffs. So the Sunday night game, I know tonight's game is going to be huge, right? Tonight's game will be like the Saints versus the Falcons, except the teams playing are the ones playing for the playoff spot, right? So that's going to be crazy. All right. So 5 seconds left for the Colts. They are going to need a Hail Mary here. Probably a bunch of lateral passes once they start getting tackled or whatever. Hot potato. So the Colts here. One last play to end this game. We shall see. Texans taking a timeout. But all right, guys, playoffs are pretty much a lock. The last remaining things tonight, Steelers versus Ravens. Best of luck to you, Ryan, and your Ravens. So we will see what happens in that game. I imagine the Ravens have a pretty good chance. The Steelers looked terrible last week. So we'll see if the Ravens can capitalize off of Derrick Henry running for 5,000 yards and 10 touchdowns last game. So it's be a great game tonight. Great game. Hey, man, have a good one. Gonna go watch the Broncos. All right. Nice hanging out. Best of luck to the Broncos. I'll see you in playoffs. Happy New Year. Rip, we'll see you during playoffs. Have a good one. Peace. Texans score a defensive touchdown to end the game. Fumble to a touchdown for the defensive tackle. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Cole. All right, what a crazy way to end the day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully, y'all had a good Christmas, a good New Year's, and are looking forward to NFL playoffs. So, interesting game tonight. If you guys are going to watch, best of luck to the Ravens fans. Best of luck to Steelers fans. I wonder what happens if it's a tie. Just kidding. But we'll see you all during next week during the playoffs. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all next time. Bye bye.